Hey, what's up, people? I'd like to say shout outs to my subscribers, new and old. Shout outs to GW3, Sister Jinx, Black Cherubim, Kid Organic, Roger Spice, Sharpshooter, all you guys. New and old subscribers, welcome. Thanks for watching. We'll be talking about polygamy. Now, I've always argued that it's not natural for men to be monogamous. Sure, they can choose to do so, but it's not natural. It's just like it's not natural to eat food. It's just like it's natural to eat food, but it's not unnatural to choose not to eat food. Hence, people go on fasting, not eating for a week, but it doesn't mean that they don't get hungry because it's natural to eat food. So it's the same thing with polygamy. Like it's natural to be polygamous, but you can choose to just have one partner or whatever. But let me go across some biblical references. And the reason I use certain biblical references is because the Bible is accepted as the moral compass of the world, among other religious books of religious persuasions. Now, I'm going to look at this guy here, Jacob. We all know Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. He had 4 females in his life. His first wife being Leah, who's the older sister of Rachel. Rachel he really loved. Leah he really didn't. He was strict into marrying Leah. And these are their servants. And these are the children he had with these 4 females in his life. Now Jacob had the privilege of God changing his name from Jacob to Israel, the father of a nation. Okay? Now, if God was so much against polygamy, and if adultery was a man having sex with somebody who's not his wife or having multiple wives, why did God not punish Jacob? I don't understand. But he gave Jacob the privilege of having a name change, a prestigious name. Israel, the father of a nation. It's not making sense. Solomon had how many wives? He had many wives. Solomon was not punished for having many wives. He was punished for worshipping other gods. Let's go to Solomon's father, King David. He had a wife called Abigail. And it says right here that Abigail was the wife of Nabal. She became a wife of the future King David after Nabal's death. David could have married to Abigail before Nabal died, because that would have been adultery, because she's already the wife of somebody else. Abigail was David's 3rd wife after Saul's daughter Micah. Micah was David's 1st wife. I don't remember the name of his 2nd wife, but his 1st wife's name is Micah. Now, if Abigail is David's 3rd wife and not his 1st, by today's standards, he would have been committing adultery, right? Yeah. That's what they would have said, which is not making any sense. Because if God's laws never change and God is immutable, then why is it different today? It's not making any sense, is it? Because if everything should change because it's 2018, then I should be free to kill your neighbor and get off. The Bible says, thou shalt not kill. So how is that still valid? But when it comes to a man having more than one wife, that changes, because there's no commandment against a man having more than one wife. There's none. I've read the Bible from front to back 3 times like a novel. There's not one. And people like to bring up, oh, Jesus said this and that. Um, the New Testament was written by Romans, and I'm going to show you the influence of the Romans on the New Testament right after this. David commits adultery with Bathsheba. David was punished by God, not because he had more than one wife. He was punished because he did this. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of his palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, "Isn't this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite?" She was already married, right? Check it out. David sent messengers to get her. She came to him and he slept with her, meaning he had sex with her, right? She had purified herself from her uncleanness, then she went back home. Now she was unclean because she went and had sex while she was married. David committed adultery right there, because unlike Abigail, Abigail's husband was dead. Bathsheba's husband was still alive. That's how he committed adultery. That's what he was punished for, and also for killing her husband. I won't get into that, because he was trying to cover his ass because he knew what he did was wrong. In this article here, it says, it's giving you a little bit of history about polygamy. It's saying here that modern culture tells us that each person has their one perfect partner to share the rest of their lives with. Although polygamy is practiced in various cultures, humans still tend toward monogamy. But this was not always the norm among our ancestors. Other primates, the mammalian group to which humans belong, are still polygamous. The modern monogamous culture has only been around for 1,000 years. It has only been around for 1,000 years. And I think that's the age, or around about the age of the New World. So all this monogamy nonsense is a part of the New World. Let's get into something else here. This is another little bit of history here. It's saying here, I have demonstrated that monogamy is not commanded in the Bible, and that it is not the doctrine of Christianity. I shall now account for its origin by proving that it is the joint offspring of paganism and Romanism. I keep telling people that monogamy comes from Rome. Now, do you guys see the correlation between the New Testament that speaks about monogamy and Rome? Because Rome wrote, I think it was the Romans who wrote the New Testament, the Flavians. I think the Flavians were from Rome, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. With the whole Council of Nicaea and all of that, I can't really get into that right now. But I'm gonna go further down here. There's something. Okay, let me read this here. The social system of the European monogamy is proved to be derived from ancient Greeks and Romans, especially from the latter. By the early histories of the nations of Europe, and by an uninterrupted descent of traditional customs from them to our own times. You see? From them to us, to this time here. It is one of those pagan admonitions which we have inherited, which the Roman Church has sanctioned and confirmed, and from which we find it so difficult to emancipate ourselves. Now, there's a part here I want to find where it speaks about how they go around and they impose their beliefs on. I think this is it. Is this it? Yeah, in order to give some just conception of the Rome the Roman monogamy at that time when it first came in contact with Christianity and when it began to impose its social system upon other nations of Europe, right? In the interest of time, I cannot read everything. I'm just picking out the main points here. But what I'm trying to show you guys is that monogamy is new. It was not a practice by the people in times of old. And the reason why it was not practiced by people of those times is because it's not natural. Because if you look at the times in which we're living in right now, people are still practicing monogamy illegally. Sorry, polygamy illegally. They're practicing polygamy illegally in America. Why? Because it's not natural for men to have sex with one female. It's just not natural. Then they call it cheating because they have to find a way to shame men into being monogamous. And as you just saw, that monogamy derives from Rome, it derives from paganism, and also to take it a step further, it's another way to control men. I want to do more research to see if monogamy is supported by feminism in order to control men and their resources, because I'm thinking that women do not want men to practice monogamy because they do not want to share the resources. And the reason I thought that was because of the story of Abraham. Abraham's wife allowed Abraham to have sex with her servant, but then when the servant got pregnant, she was upset because she was thinking that Abraham's resources would now be shared with this woman and her son, because the son is the firstborn, and in that time the firstborn gets the birthright. But all throughout history, monogamy was not natural for men. It still isn't right now. And there are health benefits to men being polygamous because we get to have more sex. Because when you're with one female, sex is limited, especially when you get married. When you're just dating and stuff, yeah, you'll get a lot of sex. When you get married, it's over. I've heard plenty of married men say that. A lot. And I'll have to do an extensive video on the benefits of sex. But it shows here that sexual activity with a partner or through masturbation can provide important psychological and emotional benefits. Like exercise, sex can help reduce stress and anxiety and increase happiness. And we all know that men die faster than women do. Not just because of violence and because they join the army and stuff like that, but men have to deal with more stress than women have to deal with. So we die of a lot more stress. And then now we're being deprived of sex, which is our stress reliever, which causes men to die even faster. Which is why being monogamous, in my eyes, is bullshit. It's not beneficial to men. It's not. And it's because of the selfish nature of females. That's why they champion monogamy. Because of the selfish, jealous nature of females. They never look at the bigger picture. They only see themselves all the time. Now, I do believe that in a polygamous society, responsible men with resources only should practice polygamy. I believe that you should practice polygamy based on your resources, because we really don't want broke men to just be having children willy-nilly all over. That's gonna be dysfunctional. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.